Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is English Shooting. I'm Callum and let's get into the video. The conversation around lead has already been going on for quite a long time now, with a few ups and downs, twists and turns. You're probably already pretty bored about it, but this is definitely a topic that you should sit up and pay attention to. This will affect every single shooter across the country. It won't matter whether you like going out into the field and shooting pigeons or whether you like putting holes through bits of paper with an air gun. The recent report released on the 6th of May from the Health and Safety Executive, the HSE, has made it very clear that they would like to see lead completely banned. Not only that, but they seem to be completely underestimating a lot of the pitfalls to the sport of shooting in doing so. Whilst this report was created by HSE, it was commissioned by UKREACH. UKREACH is a regulation that applies to the majority of chemical substances that are manufactured in or imported into Great Britain. There's also a EU REACH, and UKREACH was created because of Brexit. Whilst there is a level of autonomy and they are able to deviate from the EU REACH, it's so far being pretty much a mirror image. And when it comes to lead, we know how badly things are going out in the EU with the shooters and hunters. The EU is making a very deliberate attempt of removing all lead ammunition, and it looks like the UK REACH is going the same way. This report is really the first official stance that we've seen and a bit of a taste of where things could potentially be going, and that is incredibly important to understand. This isn't the be-all and end-all of what is going to happen. This is merely the HSE's suggestions of what the government should do. It will be used very heavily in deciding future legislation. So whilst this isn't definitely going to happen, there's a good chance that what is being proposed will in some form come into play. Now, the document that has been released is a staggering 227 pages long. So you'll have to forgive me that I haven't been able to go through the entire document. It's only been a few days, and with the Northern Shooting Show amongst those days, I haven't had the chance to sit down and really read it word for word. I believe organisations like BASC and the NRA are scrambling to read every single page of this thing. It is going to take them a while. The NRA have said before the 1st of July to give a detailed response. So what are the key points that HSE are proposing? It is a complete ban of lead ammunition for quarry, game and vermin. They are proposing that lead shot, lead slug, lead bullets and even lead airgun pellets be completely off the table for that purpose. They are also proposing a ban on the use of lead for outdoor target sport with some exemptions. The report even goes as far to say that they would consider a lead license. If you are a serious top tier athlete, you're competing on a national or international level, you may be able to apply for a license or an exemption in order for you to buy the ammunition that you want to use. Now, I'm not the biggest hunter out there. I'm certainly more of a sport shooter, and that is the area that certainly interests me the most. I'm not going to say that the rest isn't important. This is an overall kick in the groin for any form of shooting. Really, it doesn't matter what you're going to be shooting at, this could potentially affect you. Perhaps the most scary statement from all of this is they are proposing to transition away within an 18-month period, which is absolutely insane. Let's go back to a couple of years ago where BASC and the other countryside organisations made this pretty shock announcement supporting this idea of a 5-year voluntary transition away from lead, and the immediate response from the ammunition and specifically cartridge industry saying we are nowhere near ready. Really, we're going to be looking another 5 to potentially 10 years. The transitional period is going to be the make or break for the shooting community if these proposed bans come in. If the bans come in and we are nowhere near ready, we are either going to have to pay 3-4 times as much for our ammunition, in some cases even more than that, or a lot of people will just have to give up shooting because the ammunition will not be available. We're already seeing massive supply issues and massive shortages of all types of ammunition and components. If they suddenly have to transition to newer, exotic, harder to obtain materials, then the problem's only going to get worse. And even if you're prepared to pay those increased prices, you're not going to be able to get hold of it. The most interesting area of the report for me is the impact assessment. Not only does it tell you the proposals that they are putting forward, what measures they think that should be put in place, it also talks about how effective it thinks those measures are going to be. I think this gives a really good idea of where HSE or even UKREACH is going to try and steer the government in regards to legislation. For both sport shooting and hunting, they are proposing mandatory labelling of the ammunition. Yes, for any of you smokers out there that are used to potentially the nasty little photos on the side of cigarettes and the smoking kills, we could see very similar labels on any ammunition that contains lead. Practically, I don't think this makes a blind bit of difference. I think it's all about the propaganda of putting you off lead rather than it actually doing anything to really stop the actual harm. They are also proposing buybacks. Now, they really have to do this because within any ban, you haven't asked for it to be taken away, and if they are forcing to take it away from you, they have to at least not leave you out of pocket. We've seen this with the pistol ban, we've seen this with the Mars and lever release ban. The last measure that I'm going to talk about is of course the complete ban, and they talk about this for everything, for hunting and for sport shooting. They talk about it in totality, but also with potentially some exemptions for sport shooting. It is quite clear through numerous areas of this report that this is the option that they feel is going to be most effective, and my feeling is that this is the option they're going to be putting forward most to the government. The saving grace for sport shooters, and selfishly again that's what I'm most focused on, is that they do admit that some of the ammunition isn't widely available, and also that the accuracy of some non-lead ammunition isn't up to scratch for world-class shooting. It might not make a huge difference if you have a couple of flyers deviating by say an inch or two at 200 yards taking a deer, but when you're doing some serious high level precision shooting in the Olympics or on the world stage for IPSC, then those inches can make a huge difference. And if the ammunition isn't consistent enough, then it makes the whole exercise of competing pretty much a roulette wheel. It's going to be who happens to have the most consistent ammunition during the competition, and effectively who has the best luck, rather than the skill of the competitor themselves. Something that's important to note around sport shooting is that indoor use is not within the remit of this report, and BASC makes it very clear that this is only going to cover outdoor sport shooting use. Okay, it's pretty hard to justify lead shots or lead cartridges for indoor use. That's going to be a pretty tricky one, and maybe even 50 BMG, but certainly for rifle ammunition, I think it's going to be very hard to police and control and bring in an outright ban. So again, this for me gives some strength that sport shooting is going to be okay in some ways. What they're going to look at more is having better measures at ranges, better contamination controls, better lead recovery, and that we won't see an outright ban. And I hope that it won't be too hard to be able to get a license or use an exemption. Maybe it's even something like the general licenses where sport shooters can automatically use lead ammunition because they are shooting within a controlled space, within a licensed premises. You can have, say, a licensed range both from the Home Office, and now you're going to have a lead license range from HSE or even UKREACH. So I think sport shooting, things are going to get a little bit more difficult, certainly a lot more expensive, but the hunters, I think, have a very long and difficult road ahead of you. Again, this is just an overview and a sort of quick summary of what I've been able to pick out of this document. I am going to be following this incredibly closely, looking at what the NRA comes out with, what BASC comes out with, and what they think of this report and where things are going to be heading. But once again, to remind you that there is a public consultation open now to have your voice heard, to have any evidence of yours submitted that maybe counters some of these points. So please do click on that link and please have your voice heard within this. It is important for every single shooter to put forward an argument to keep lead where it's needed and where there isn't any alternatives to switch to. So there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up, and also please consider subscribing for any future videos and content. And of course, as always, I hope to see you soon.